Hey everybody, this is R. Renee. I'm the co-author of the book, The Tithing Hoax, Exposing the Lies, Misinterpretations, and False Teachings About Tithing. And I'm your tithe expert. And I'm going to try my best to get through this video. And my voice is just a little, it's not fully there. So forgive me if my vocal presentation isn't up to par. But anyway, I want to talk about tithes, Christians, and foreclosures. In the previous video, I cited a USA Today article regarding Christians who lost their homes in foreclosures and who chose to tithe instead of using that money to pay that mortgage. And I wanted to delve a little bit deeper into the relationship between tithing and home foreclosures among Christians, because as we know, Christians did get caught up in the whole housing foreclosure fiasco, and we need to take a look at how that came about. Now, there are many factors involved in that, and I'm not going to sit here and say, well, tithing was the only reason why many Christians lost their homes, because that's not the case. But we also must look at the fact that for many Christians, tithing did play a role in them losing their homes. Tithing and also the whole prosperity gospel teaching and the whole name it and claim it type of mentality that is pervasive in among many denominations within the church, because you had so many preachers telling their congregations, well, just go out and get what you want, whatever you want, just step out on faith, right? Go out and step out on faith. Don't worry that you can't afford something. Don't worry about it, because God is going to provide. God is going to make a way. All you have to do is have faith. And what happened is you had many Christians who took that to heart, and they went to purchase homes that they really could not afford. You have, I'm just going to throw some figures out there, like people making $50,000 a year going out trying to purchase a $500,000 home. Now, and at that time, you could do that because of the whole subprime loan situation, and if you had good enough credit, you could get in the house. Most of the time they weren't even looking at your income. It didn't matter what your income was. You want a $500,000 house? Yeah, here's a loan. We'll get you in the house. And so what happened was, when the interest rates spiked, the interest rates may have been low, and lower interest rates means lower mortgage payments. So you may have been able to get into a house for $1,000 a month, but once the interest rate spiked, some people saw their mortgage payments go from $1,000 to $4,000 a month, and now they're in a situation where it's like, now how am I going to continue to pay my mortgage because I can't afford this mortgage payment anymore? This is too expensive, And as a result, because the people, these people can no longer afford these homes or to pay those make those mortgage payments, the homes ended up going in foreclosure. And preachers bear responsibility in this crisis among Christians because of what they were instructing people to do. It's one thing to espouse and share spiritual principles, but what many preachers fail to do is to ground those spiritual principles into practical application. Spirituality is fine. Spiritual principles are fine. Faith is fine. But as Christians, you have to realize you exist in a world system. And this world system has certain rules and it operates in a certain way. And because you exist in this world, you need to know how to operate and function in this world. And it's not enough to say, well, I'm going to get this $500,000 home and I'm just believing in God to make a way. And what happens is when you get in that home and you lose the home because you couldn't afford it, you're looking like, well, God didn't make a way. Now what happened? And that's why I say that how tithing affects people on a spiritual level, this false teaching about tithing, because it can really shatter a person's faith and trust in God when, quote unquote, God didn't come through for them. And it's not so much that God didn't come through, or it's not God's fault. You know, it was the choice you made, and your choice of getting into a home you couldn't afford was not grounded in receiving good, sound information from the part of your preacher and whoever else who was involved in you making that decision. Because it's one thing to get in a house, and it's another thing to be able to keep a house and maintain a house. And when everybody was going around talking about naming and claiming and this, that, and the other, people should have been receiving practical advice and counseling about home loans, home mortgages, what a subprime loan is, and being realistic about what they could actually afford. Because as a rule of thumb, for anyone who's buying a home, it is said that your home really should not cost more than twice your yearly income. So in other words, if you're making $50,000 a year, your home shouldn't cost more than $100,000. And so that way you're getting into a home that you can reasonably and comfortably afford. So that's just something to take into consideration. And it's also something for preachers to take into consideration when you get up there and get carried away and you're busy up there hyping up the people and talking about naming and claiming and you know, having faith. Faith is fine, but foolishness is not. And you have to be very mindful of your teaching and instruction. But if you're not knowledgeable really in finances and money management, then you need to have somebody in the church who is, and have workshops. And so you are equipping the saints and giving them biblical scriptures. Oftentimes is not always enough to equip the saints. And the bottom line is poor instructions lead to poor choices, and poor choices leads to poor consequences. And the whole home foreclosure among Christians is a prime example of that. So that's something I just wanted to share with you, and it's food for thought. And if you have any comments, please, I welcome all comments. You can leave them in the comments section here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. And if you want more information about the topic of tithing and want to learn more about the book, The Tithing Hoax, I invite you to visit thetithinghoax.com. I'm R. Renee, your tithe expert, and until next time, peace and blessings.